Hello, I'm Dynast Amir.
So I reached out to another friend of mine. I said, look, I need to go on vacation somewhere. Where should I go? He said, go to Africa. And not only am I going to go, I'm going to explore a new country. So I went to Tanzania, South Africa, Namibia, Mali, Senegal, Morocco, Liberia, Namibia, Kenya, the Voodoo Festival in Ouida, Gambia, Togo, Cote d'Ivoire. Sierra Leone, Ghana, Nigeria. It's been a beautiful experience, just learning more about our culture, our indigenous culture. So Uhuru means freedom in Swahili. I'm in search of my roots. In finding that, I would experience my Uhuru, which is freedom.
Till next time, Dynast Amir, I'm out.
Peace, fam. I hope all is well. I hope what's today? Wednesday, hump day. I hope your hump day is going well. I need to get a haircut. I will be getting a haircut this weekend. I need to shave, all that stuff. I'm so disappointed. So finally, it took forever. Like, I started to have like a baby goatee back when I was in college, but it took probably to my 30s, my mid 30s, before my goatee started connecting. Now, I want a beard, but the beard just won't come. And like, I have like the gaps right here. So I'm just going to quit. So I'm going to shave my beard, keep my goatee, got to get a haircut. But I'm just so disappointed. Again, somebody said hip hop isn't dead. It's in zombie mode. I don't know what's going on with hip hop. I'm just so disappointed that my beard, I'm a grown ass man, I'm 40, that my beard won't, fill in all the way. And I don't have a proper beard, but maybe one day, I'll be 41 in April. So what I want for my 41st birthday is for me to wake up one day, on my 41st birthday, which will be April 15th. And for my beard to be completely connected in full. It's going to happen, y'all. We're going to have faith, but everyone, thank you so much for joining. Like, share, subscribe. Again, hit that like button, share, and subscribe. If you have not bought the documentary In Search of Uhuru, that was a trailer that was just playing. Again, if you have not bought the documentary In Search of Uhuru, please go to searchforuhuru.com. Again, please go to searchforuhuru.com and buy the documentary. This is the number one documentary out, you guys. So make sure you go to searchforuhuru.com and buy the documentary. Okay. Do a show on Grenada getting reparations. Okay. Keep shaving it. It will go quicker. Okay. If y'all got any magic potions as well, let me know. If you guys have a magic potion that will grow all of this and fill it in, let me know. All right. If you have some snake oil, let me know. So again, go to searchforuhuru.com, and buy the documentary. If you're watching this and if you have not bought the documentary, you ain't down with Search for Uhuru. Hold on, fam. Hold on one second. Let me pull this up real quick. You ain't got no love for Search of Uhuru. All right. If you have not bought this documentary, you ain't got no love. You ain't got no love for In Search of Uhuru. So y'all make sure you go and buy the documentary. Go to searchforuhuru.com about it, documentary. Next on the announcements, Donfo.Africa. We have tours coming up. For everyone that's like, Dynast, I want to go to Africa, but, you know, I want to go to Africa, but you got all the stalling tactics and excuses in the world not to go. Listen, come and roll with us. Again, come and roll with us to Africa, to the continent. We will love to have you. Please visit Donfo.Africa to learn more. Okay, link is in the chat room, link is on the screen. We have Sierra Leone in April. Sierra Leone in April for the citizenship swearing-in ceremony. If you have taken your ancestry or your DNA test, through AfricanAncestry.com, you are eligible for your citizenship. And you can join Team Dual Passport, okay? Team Dual Citizenship, okay? We lonely over here. Well, I'm actually Team Triple, but even Team Dual citizenship. We are lonely over here. We need some more teammates and some more people to join the team. So please go to Donfo.Africa to learn more. April 19th to the 30th. Come and get your passport. They were doing Senegal in May for the Jazz Festival. Come hear some excellent, authentic African jazz and really jazz from across the world. Go to Donfo.Africa, click travel, click Senegal, click Sierra Leone. Then we have Nigeria, Oshun Festival in August 6th through the 15th. Come and roll with us to Nigeria in August, and then we have Zanzibar in November. And then after Zanzibar, there should be another citizenship ceremony in Sierra Leone in November, because more than likely, so there's an election coming up in Sierra Leone in June, but from what it seems, because the other party, they can't get their stuff together, Mata Bio's just going to walk in, you know, and be the president. He's the incumbent, and there's no reason why he should lose this upcoming election. You know, and I suggested, you know, the other party, they had infighting. They couldn't decide on who was going to be their candidate to run, their flag bearer. I said, I told them, I mean, I didn't tell them, you know, I don't know anybody over there. I suggested that the mayor of Freetown run, Aki Sar, have her run. But no one wants to listen to Dynast. I mean, I was like, why not the mayor of Freetown? How about you just let her run for president and represent the APC? But no one wants to listen to Dynast. So, you know, more than likely, they're going to lose APC come June. And yeah, so more than likely, guys, there will be another swearing-in ceremony in November. Hasn't been officially announced, so don't hold me to it, but that's what it's looking like. So go to Donfo.Africa. We'd love to have you. I wanted to speak and give my reaction to a conversation that was on the I Am Athlete podcast. I Am Athlete podcast, that's with Pac-Man Jones, Brandon Marshall, and LaShawn McCoy. And they had Jermaine Dupri on as a special guest. And Jermaine Dupri confirmed everything that I've been saying for the longest on how pretty much hip-hop is dead, okay? Now, people want to have this argument that there's a difference between rap and hip-hop. You know, that's the argument. Well, that is rap. Is it hip-hop? Is it a complete difference? That makes it even worse because no one listens to hip-hop then, for the most part. No one listens to hip-hop. Please In fact, I want somebody to come on the chat when I put the link in the chat room. I want somebody to call in and just give me a hip hop artist that's in, since hip hop isn't rap. Name a hip hop artist that's like top 40. A so-called hip hop artist. Like, name a hip hop artist that's top 40. Because again, you know, people are saying, nah, this ain't hip hop. That what you know, as far as what you guys are listening to, you know, that's mainstream, that's rap. So what's the difference? What's the difference between, in fact, here we go. What's the difference between hip hop and rap? Because if you guys aren't including rap, when you talk about hip hop, if you aren't including rap, then hip hop is really dead. Again, if you are separating rap from hip hop and you're not including rap in hip hop is done. If that's the case. Because these little drill rappers and mumble rappers, you know, was saving hip hop. But if rap isn't hip hop, then hip hop is completely dead. But let's go ahead and listen to this conversation, this dialogue on I Am Athlete.
Show, you know, Pac from Atlanta. You really know Pac.
Mm-hmm.
Pac like
don't
that,
mess
right?
around.
So we got to think on the show. We really can't make fun of Pac, right? So I just said,
I'm
I'm doing it anyway. Y'all deal with the
I won't go no more. I'm sorry. Though.
Where his ass just say
performance and the Michael Jackson performance, like 2-3 days ago, I think.
No, that ain't the best wings, bro. But that's a whole nother conversation.
You lived on the east side, huh?
Yeah,
Okay.
we ain't on that side of town. But what I'm saying is, like, when I went to New York, I didn't even think about the strip club part. You get what I'm saying? I literally was trying to get something to eat.
So it ain't shut all though.
Swear to God, bro.
Culture's heavy in Atlanta. I heard you say something about like black music is in trouble, and I want you to elaborate on that. Like, what did you mean by that?
Well, when I got into music, right, it was a lot of people that wanted to be in the music business.
Mm-hmm.
Black people that wanted to be executives, black people that wanted these higher up jobs, black people that was fighting for these positions. That was in 92, right? Or well, crisscross 91, Silk Times Leather. Fast forward to now, like 2-3 days ago, I think, a young lady from here named Ethiopia, who was the CEO of Motown,
wow,
she stepped down. Now, in corporate America, step down mean they let you go. Right. So I don't know the logistics of it, but I'm saying that's what it says, right? Yeah. So with her moving, that put us in a space. And by the way, I said this prior to that happening. I said this because Michael Jackson made the biggest musical album in the history of music.
Can you say that one more time for us?
Huh?
Can you say that one more time?
Oh yeah, Michael Jackson made the biggest musical album in the history of music, selling more records than damn near anybody. I mean, not damn near, just sold more records than anybody. And it was just the 40th anniversary of that album this year, right? And the AMAs was going to do a tribute, and they called Chris Brown. They called Chris Brown to do the tribute. They asked him to do the tribute. It's not something that Chris chose to do himself.
Preach.
They called him to do it. They got this man rehearsing all of this and everything. And the day before the show come on, they canceled his performance and the Michael Jackson performance. That to me is an attack on black music. I don't know how people want to look at it, but these are
the reality is black folks don't own or control black music. And whenever I bring that up, here comes the pushback. Black folks in America don't control or own black music. Okay, let's continue.
That's the future and
crazy,
the past. Man. You basically cancel that. And you do it without any conversation or any...
So a day before?
Huh? The day before, Saturday, night or Saturday morning or something like. I mean, yeah, Saturday afternoon. I think before the awards were supposed to come on Sunday, so Saturday afternoon this was canceled. And you know, anything like that to me, I come from an era where we grew up only having MTV.
Right.
You know, like when I started with Crisscross, it wasn't no 106 in Park. So people be thinking like I come from an era where we ain't have, right? So we had to do with what we had. And when you come from that space, you realize that it's limited. The spaces is limited, right? American Music Awards and MTV, these was the only spots that we could be seen. Right. So if you start taking those spots away,
what's we got now?
Yeah, you start taking those spots away from us, where you gonna see Chris Brown do a tribute to Michael Jackson at? Where this really matters to me. It really matters, and it should matter to everybody Black that love music, because we don't have Soul Train actually no more. We don't have even American Bandstand. We don't even have these things that artists had prior to.
See, Drake Miller, you're part of the problem. I'm gonna tell you why. The lack of accountability here in our community is just, it's insane. Like, we're not talking about African resources. I promise you, the excuses a lot of us make, it's just embarrassing, especially coming from the men. Especially coming from the men. The amount of excuses we make as Black men is embarrassing. It's embarrassing. What does Black folks not controlling Black music here in America got to do with Africa and its resources? I only hear these excuses from our community. Black man kills a Black man, it's the white man's fault. Black man kills a Black man, what about the white community? They kill each other too. I mean, just the level of excuses is embarrassing. Let's continue. We got an excuse for everything.
To set their music up. So if you start snatching it away, what does that mean?
But I love question. Hold on, B. Let me ask one question. Like, what you saying all of that though? Did you think hip hop would be the #1 genre of music right now? That's one question. And second question is, how do you, Jay-Z, Diddy,
Puffy,
Diddy, and Puff? I said that's Diddy, bro. You tripping? Jay-Z, Diddy.
Hey, hold on.
Jay-Z, Diddy. Who the fuck else did I say? You. I'm missing one person. Who am I missing? Puff and Diddy. That's the same person.
Hold on, time out. No. Hey, I gotta tell you this. So we got a thing on this show. You know, Pac from Atlanta. You really know Pac. Pac like
don't
that,
mess
right?
around.
So we got a thing on the show. We really can't make fun of Pac, right? So I just said, I'm doing it anyway. Y'all deal with the
I'm doing it more. I'm sorry. Though.
Wait, his ass just say
Puff, Diddy, you. That's what I said.
Puff, Diddy.
And then he said it again. Now, like, fuck. All right, let's go, man.
Like Biggie, JC.
Get through my point.
Puffy,
my point was, you see what I did with these.
I should have said Sean Jama.
My point is, hold on, bro. Let me get through the damn thing. My point is, the people that I was saying, that I said earlier, we look at you guys like the owners. You guys have the influence. You guys have the culture. So pretty much what you guys say goes. So that was my question, Brandon.
Now your question actually was, did I think it was gonna become the #1 genre in music? No, never. Not where I come from, because where I come from, it was always told that, you know, it's noise. This ain't music. This ain't noise, you know, this ain't the real thing that makes hit records. This ain't da da da. So I mean I was taught that, but I watched the influence of it throughout the whole world, and being on tour, I did see the influence probably stronger than anybody coming together and becoming what it is. But even with that being the #1 genre, we still in trouble because the hip hop that's at the top is very, very limited. Like he was saying, it's not it's the subject matter ain't wide. It's very, very narrow minded. And if it's gonna be across the board, it's gotta open itself up.
How you fix it?
Huh?
That's a great question, bro. Yeah.
Oh man, I don't know how you fix it.
Everybody's looking for you to fix.
This sums up the community right here. How do you fix it? He don't know. How do you fix it? What are the solutions? He don't know. That is why hip hop is dead. None of your hip hop pioneers have any solutions on how to fix it. None of them. Listen to what he said. How do you fix it? Now, Jermaine Dupri is a pioneer. He don't know. None of the pioneers have solutions. That's why hip hop is dead. Right there. Guys, listen, we're going to take a quick commercial break. I'll put the link in the chat room. You're more than welcome to call in and add to the conversation. And we will be right back.
In honor of Black History Month, my books and ebook will be $2 off. Purchasing is available at www.saycarry.com. And you can also use my website to contact me regarding questions, comments, or to book speaking engagements. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Really love this brand because first off, the products are quality. I have amazing hydration. You guys can see the shine. You guys can see the definition.
Alexis here, coming to you with an awesome sale of 25% off when you use promo code UHURU25 at alexisfowler.com. I provide services like digital art, logo designs, packaging designs, web designs, social media flyers, and much more. If you're an entrepreneur with a business or a startup company, make sure you take advantage of this opportunity, getting 25% off when you use promo code UHURU25 at alexisfowler.com.
At the Okoli Law Group, we specialize in producing justice. If you or a loved one in the Atlanta metro area is facing serious criminal charges, then you need serious legal representation.
The Okoli Law Group is here for you. The Okoli Law Group is here for us.
The Okoli Law Group, serious legal representation.
Go ahead, Brandon.
Hey, can you hear me okay?
Loud and clear. Go ahead.
All right. Yeah, so the reality is, all you have to do to understand why hip hop is dead and it's not working is to listen to what people lie and say, well, what people say that hip hop was built on. It was built on the community. So if the community is dead and degenerate and on a course of self-destruction, that means that hip hop, being a baby of that, being a product of that, is also going to be dead, dying, or on a path of self-destruction. So when the community died, when the Black community died, that's when hip hop died. And when Black people say, well, we own hip hop. Well, if nothing else, we were definitely the people who made hip hop popular, right? We were the one who popularized it through consumption. We spread the word. We bought all the albums. We was walking around rapping the music and all that stuff. Even in the back in the day, you're not going to run into too many people who were like openly like going to rap lyrics while walking down the street and stuff like that. But ultimately, once that community died, hip hop died. So when you look at people like Jermaine Dupri and they don't understand how to change everything, the reality is they know exactly what to do to change it, but they don't want to say it because they are entertainers. They make money off of being popular. So you can't expect someone who makes a living off of being popular to bring an unpopular message, right? I'm gonna say that again. You can't expect someone who makes money off of being popular to bring a popular message. This is why you can never really expect politicians to lead the charge in any cause or narrative that is unpopular, because they get on with messages that are popular to grow their popularity. This is one of the reasons why I really like Donald Trump, because Donald Trump is one of the few politicians who is okay with being unpopular. He doesn't care if you like him or not. He's looking at the policies. And the same thing with these rappers. They can advance anything in the black community, because whatever's popular or trendy, that's what they're going to support. This is why you see a lot of entertainers who have gravitated towards liberal identity politics. Look at people like Dwayne Wade, different artists, athletes. They're just here to be on top of what's trendy, because they're using that as a vehicle to grow their own popularity. So the reality is, hip hop is dead. Hip hop is dead. It's done. We have a better form of music, I believe, which is Afro beats. Not better in the sense of it has more talent, but in the sense that it just has a better message. It has a more feel good, communal, tone that's healthy for us and our children, right? Most of our children, even now, the ones that are just not total degenerates, they don't even listen to rap music. They rarely even listen to black music. They're going into different genres of music, because anyone who's truly aware of themselves understands, look, if I listen to this impacts my mood, impacts the way I view the world, impacts the way I view myself, right? So they just stay away from it. So I just say we encourage people to make, songs like Afrobeat songs. I like Burner Boy. I like Fire Boy. I like what's the other, all these little, guys in Nigeria, South Africa, whatever, just because they're, I like Tim's a lot. Just the message is popular, and it's a message that perpetuates life in abundance versus, I'm going to kill the op. And no one ever asks these rappers, what are you going to do after you kill the ops? When all the ops are gone, what are you going to do? That should be the question for every drill rapper. Once you eliminate all the people who look like you, then what? You go to jail like that little dude, little TJ or whatever his name is? Or do you just, you just fade off into nothingness and blame the system? That's all I want to say.
All right. Go ahead, Alan. Guys, do me a favor. Hit the like button again. As you come to the chat room, please hit that like button. Go ahead, Alan.
Yeah, we lost hip hop as early as the mid 90s. The hip hop has been dead for a very, very long time. We've pretended, and it's been kept afloat by people putting out what I call hip hop, which is more of a pop rap that they found more acceptable. When we owned hip hop, when we were actually legislating and showing the rules of how it was supposed to be done and the culture, we had more artists that were like, talking about Black empowerment and talking about things that were relevant to the Black community. Now, what ended up happening around the time when Diddy got into the game and completely changed New York rap, we started talking about the bling bling, the lifestyle, the women, the other things, and we completely lost it, because what he did was he ended up selling it. People like him and Steve Stout ended up selling it and packaging it to corporations, and they've decided what was acceptable. And now the corporations completely dictate what is being even said or is in hip hop. They get to tell you that Lil Nas X is on top of hip hop, in spite of the fact that he doesn't rap. They get to go ahead and do all that kind of stuff, and they ignore the rules and the precepts of hip hop, which was supposed to be breakdancing, DJing, MCing, and graffiti. You don't even hear about that kind of stuff anymore. Hip hop as a culture is dead, because you don't even hear about that, those elements of hip hop from anybody. I've had people, telling me that hip hop is that Lil Nas X is hip hop, and that hip hop is kind of his music, it doesn't make any sense. We've destroyed it. And so it is dead. People have taken what they wanted from it and made better music. And the people who in the genres like dancehall who have taken the negative aspects of it have destroyed themselves too. So I'm all for Afrobeats. I love Afrobeats. I love Wizkid. I love Burna Boy. I love everything I hear from them. Tiwa Savage, all those people. And I prefer to listen to it because it makes more sense. It's fun. People are dancing and having a good time, and you're not trying to see who can kill who or who's killed who, which one is dead. Burna Boy is not going to turn up dead tomorrow. It's just a much more entertaining and fun form of music for when I go out.
Let me read this super chat. Woke Quill, thank you for the $5 holla. If you desire to know whether a kingdom is well governed, if his morals are good or bad, the quality of his music will furnish the answer. Brandon, that's a Brandon question. Or Brandon, respond to that.
I mean, the reality is we don't understand that hip hop is music. Music is a part of culture in its entirety. It's just an aspect of culture. When Black people try to, hip hop is its own culture and all, no, it's not. Hip hop was merely an aspect of Black culture. Literally, when you try to define yourself by something that, if at most you could say hip hop was a subculture, right? But a subculture can exist without a dominant culture to be underneath the umbrella of, right? So it's a reflection of a larger culture. So when hip hop hip hop basically will change and will go in whatever direction the overarching culture is going in. So as Black people became more degenerate, violent amongst ourselves, and perpetuated violence against each other and all that stuff, hip hop just began to reflect that, because that's all subcultures are. They're just a reflection of the dominant culture. And in reality, like what Alan was saying, one thing I agree with everything Alan said except for one thing. When he started talking about the corporations, they control this, they control that. The only thing corporations control is the distribution and marketing of whatever you decide to do as a people, right? Look, when they made the song "My Neck, My Back, My Coochie and My Crack," do you think that a corporate executive wrote that line and told that girl, this is what you should say in this song? No, he didn't. The corporate executive probably said, don't say that. And then when the corporate executive saw how many people jumped to go buy that degenerate crap, he was like, well, we'll market it for you and offer you a deal to get this out to the masses. And we just ask that we're just going to take this % of whatever this music earns. We need to stop doing this thing where we're trying to blame corporations, Jewish people, white people for the content that we are consuming. We create the content. They found a clever way to control the marketing of it and the distribution of it. That means the onus of it is on us because we are the creators. Simply put, why do you think J. Cole albums are not breaking records? Because we don't want that. Because what do we want? We want something a little more degenerate. The reason why rappers like Drake are able to grow the way he has is because he has done what you call, Dynast, crossover. You guys have heard that term crossover, right?
Yeah.
Have you?
Correct.
Okay. What does crossover mean? That means that you have managed to cross over from one audience or demographic to another audience or demographic, right? So what does that prove? That literally proves that most of the degeneracy that Black people produce, the music we produce, that's consumed by Black people. And if somehow white people get a hold to it and they enjoy it and they begin to consume it, now you've crossed over. You've crossed over. Now other groups of people are now consuming your music at a large scale, right? That proves something. These people are not determining what you're going to write down or what you're going to create. You are creating what is appealing to your own group. And if you now, like when Lil Nas X was on the song, he did the song with Billy Ray Cyrus, right? Okay, some white people like that song that he made, right? Open Road. White people start a Country Road or Old Town Road, whatever it was called. White people started consuming that because that song was like a sample of a white person's song. So white people say, "Ooh, that's a familiar tune. I like it." And then what they've done with it is catchy. Just like Lauryn Hill, Killing Me Softly, right? Why did that song cross over? Because it was a white song before it was a black song. And they started consuming that song and that music. So no one said, "Hey, Lauryn, sing this song. You write this down." We decide. And then they distribute and market it. So stop trying to blame them for the degeneracy that we like to throw out for our people to feed off of. I don't like that blame game.
Well, I didn't blame them. I specifically named a black person. I named Diddy and Steve Stout. These are two guys who appealed to at first they couldn't figure out how to replicate hip hop and make it something that they can market and use. What happened was when that change happened in New York, when we went from the conscious era to this bling bling era, trying to appeal to more people, and people like Diddy and Steve Stout were selling it. They were packaging quote unquote blackness and showing corporations ways in which to sell it. So those are the two guys I named, and those are two guys who I put a lot of blame on for what ended up happening to hip hop in the negative turn that it took. Because before that, prior to Diddy's involvement, hip hop was definitely a culture, a subculture, but it was a culture, and it had rules and it had things. At least in New York, it did. It didn't always have it in other areas of the country, but in New York, it did, and it ends up getting destroyed once those brothers started taking it, marketing it, Andre Harrell, and selling it and pushing it to corporations, showing them we can package this stuff, we can make it not offensive to you guys, and we can make it appeal to broader people while reinforcing stereotypes that are pleasing to to everybody, including black people. So that's what happened.
Let me read this super chat real quick. Mr. Sandman, thank you for the super chat. These young rap artists are too dependent on technology and the internet. They have lost their creativity, just mind-numbing BS. All right, go ahead, Larry.
Thanks very much. I just finished watching a brilliant documentary.
Real quick, sorry to interject. Sorry to interrupt, Larry. You know what's weird? Like everybody that's in the chat room that's calling Brandon Bucci Bear, they never cam up. I just find it very weird. They never call in and cam up. I just find that very odd. But go ahead, Larry.
Thanks. I just finished watching a documentary called Jazz, directed by Ken Burns. It's like if you buy on DVD, it's like 7 DVDs or 8. It's a brilliant documentary, and it shows how the music was created by Black Americans, its popularity, and how it declined. The reason I mention it is because within America, Black Americans have historically been known for creating different musical genres. And obviously, in the 60s, you had Motown records, Stax records, but then that music fell out of favor. Before then, the 20s, the 40s, you had blues, Bessie Smith, Ma Rainey, and eventually that stopped becoming popular. Disco again, and then that stopped becoming popular. Maybe the same thing's happening to hip hop eventually. Maybe we're witnessing the decline of hip hop, and a new genre of music is going to be created by Black Americans. I don't know, because historically speaking, funk, house music, techno, they all get created, they all sell loads of money, make lots of money, and then they decline, and then a new generation of Black Americans create something new. Maybe that's what's going to happen with hip hop. Hip hop has had its time, and I guess it's just what's around the corner that Black Americans are going to create. I don't know.
I mean, yeah, that's the evolution, how music evolves. I don't know if Roberta Flack is the first person to sing "Killing Me Softly." She could have been. I might have misspoke on that, but I thought it was a white woman, but I could be wrong. But the thing is, it's Roberta Flack originally?
No, it's not. You're not wrong. It was a woman who sung it first.
Yeah, it was a white woman. I'm usually not wrong, but some degenerate in the comments was saying that. So, but the whole thing is, you got to understand, Black people are not losing their creativity. Let me drop a jewel real quick, Dynast. Can I drop a jewel, Dynast?
Let me read the super chat first. Shout out to AJ and Niger. J. Cole has sold over 8 million records. Go ahead and drop it.
Okay. I want everybody to put their crack pipe down for this one. Black people are not losing their creativity. Black people are now giving their creativity away for free on social media. That is a new expression of Black intellect or artistry. Black people would rather write a 50 awesome quotes or poems or shit, even a story where they tell what happened to them and their friend a day, than to actually write a book of poems, produce a poetic song that's like introspective. You know, we just give all of our creativity to social media. And so now, instead of having to buy our music or make deals with us to distribute our music, white people just say, look, go on social media, look at what they talking about. Take all the best things they've ever said, and now you package it or put a white person's face to it and watch them and become rich. I'll give you an example. Sorry, there's a fire truck. I'll give you an example. The girl who said that Cash Me Outside stuff on Dr. Phil. Now, Catch Me Outside was something that was started by a Black person. Man, you could catch me outside. Do you know that white girl that made $14 million from saying that on Dr. Phil that one time? She has parlayed that into $14 million. Why? Because she heard somebody say that on the internet, 90% chance social media, and she just regurgitated that on a white show, and being white, and a bunch of white people started saying it. That's what they're doing now. We're giving away our intellectual property on social media. So it's not even that hip hop is fading from its like grace or whatever. It's just that now white people have a cheaper way to gain access to. They've created vehicles for them to have access to Black intellectual property without having to pay for it. Literally, right or wrong, Dynast, new dance gets invented, it's going up on social media first. Right. White person see it, they just gave us the new dance craze for free. Yep. Back in the day, they had to pay you. Hey, we need you to choreograph some dances for us so little Sally, two left shoes over here, could get on stage and dance like a Black person. Now you call up a Black choreographer, they come in, train Britney Spears, whatever, whoever, and they go, they reveal the dance on stage, and everyone's like, whoa, where did that, like the moonwalk, where did that come from? Now we're making money off of teaching white folks how to do the moonwalk and everything else like that. Not anymore. We throwing it up on social media for totally free, giving away intellectual property for totally free.
The Fox, go ahead, the Fox.
What's up, family? So I kind of wanted to touch on the contrast between hip hop and Afro beats, and I'm not trying to deny accountability with us as African Americans here, but I do think the environment plays a lot to do with that, because in a lot of those countries, you just can't get on stage and say certain things, like legally, like you're not allowed to say it. And I think that has a lot to do with naturally, if you're trying to capitalize off of making music and you are creating Afro beats, if you know you can't get paid to do something or say something, you're not going to do it. And I think it's the same here. I think if we were, if there was I want to say police over language, or what you can and can't say, and if there was no money in that, nobody would do it. And it's as simple as that. But we're not in positions to make sure somebody can't get on stage and call women the B word and talk about how they're going to shoot and stab 100 million Black folk. And like, we can't police none of that stuff, but there's a large market to make money off of it. So it's not going to end. So again, I'm not trying to deny accountability, but I don't think we can deny the way the environment reflects, or the way the environment is correlated to the music that is being made. I mean, the legal environment is because we can do it, and I feel like in a lot of those countries, that's not to say they don't want to say some wild stuff. And I would go as far as to say, if there was like a democracy, a true democracy, a vote day on whether or not they should say it, I feel like the majority of the population would say, yeah, we should be allowed to say it. But they have enough people in the right places to say, no, you can't say that type of stuff. We don't have anybody in any of those places to say that. So that was the only point I wanted to make.
Go ahead, Jamal.
I think. Go ahead, Don.
No, I'm saying, go ahead.
Oh no, no. I think I mean, Jermaine Dupri, listen, he's a legend, and I get what he's trying to say, but let's be honest, he's not moving the culture right now, right? Until somebody like a Drake or a 21 Savage or these different type of people say that hip hop is dead, then of course it'll be dead, but it's not. Jermaine Dupri, much respect to him, but I will say this: what would give hip hop like the edge over like different genres is that it doesn't sound the same. It go through cycles, right? Hip hop now in Atlanta, right? It don't sound like the Atlanta hip hop that was coming out in the
Jamal,
90s.
I got to interject real quick, Jamal. Are you saying 21 Savage is hip hop?
Yeah, he's hip hop. Of course he's hip hop, man. Hey, Dynast, I'm gonna give you a challenge, right? 21 Savage be on actually Clubhouse a lot, right? I want you to go in the hip hop rooms he be in and how he analyzes and studies the game, right? And then you have a different perspective of 21 Savage. But my point is this:
he's not even Black American.
Hold on, it's not about that. It's not about Black American. Come on, stop that stuff, man. Stop it. Now I will say this. With hip hop, what I hear is a disconnect between the young and the old, right? Because a lot of us on the stage we're older. But we got to start giving these young people credit, man. The Kodak Blacks, the J. Coles, all these people that's coming. These young guys is holding it down. And what I hear is a lot of hate from the older generation. You would never have this conversation amongst Gen Zers and younger millennials. This is like an old, I hate to say it, an old Negro conversation. Jazz, we don't want jazz music. At one time, jazz, they didn't want jazz around, So I think the conversation is a disconnect with the youth and the older heads. Only old heads are saying this stuff. Hip hop is still the most dominant art form in the world, right?
I disagree.
Hold on, Diane. Let me lay here 30 seconds. I'm gonna lay here 30 seconds. Listen, it's the most consumed. I mean, you go to YouTube, the top artist is hip hop. NBA YoungBoy, he is a hip hop artist, and we have to give these young people their time. If it ain't your cup of tea, that's fine. But these young people are moving the culture. But I'm gonna mute up there.
Right, Jamal, you say moving the culture of what? Popping pills. Shooting the ops, drive-bys.
It's a lot.
Dynast.
Okay, hold on, Brandon. Hold on. So when you said 21 Savage and NBA YoungBoy, they're moving the culture. It's popping pills, shooting ops, drive-bys.
But it's a little more than that, though. That's some of it, but it's a little more than that.
No, but Jamal, I want you to educate me. When you said when it comes to 21 Savage and NBA YoungBoy, you said it's a little more than that. Then please expand on that, and then I'll pass.
Like for example, I'm gonna give you an example. Like Kodak Black and 21 Savage, right? If you really listen to their music, they bringing in different like spirituality, like Ife, like 21. He drops little jewels in there about Ife. But if you don't listen to him, right, you won't pick up on that, because you got to remember 21 Savage, even though he's from Atlanta, he was in the gang and stuff. His parents, was in the Nubian nation, right? So he gives you little streams of consciousness. Even Kodak Black, I'm gonna be honest with you. Listen to some Kodak Black music, right? Even though he's talking about ops and stuff like that, he drops a lot of voodoo. A spirituality system and his rhymes and consciousness and his rhymes. But if you don't listen, because we sometimes we become old niggas, right? We don't listen and we condemn the youth. And I think that's where we go wrong at.
I'll accept your point maybe about 21 Savage, but I will not accept your point about Kodak Black.
What let me say this. I thought the same thing until I listened to him.
Kodak
let me say this. Tell me,
you don't want any black bitches. You know what I mean? And that he's already black. He needs light-skinned women, and he writes songs like that. That's not spiritual. That's not edifying.
That's been going in black music forever.
This is just.
It's not.
This is just pure immaturity, because if you look at this situation, I want this guy to name me one other in history. Name me, because I know, you old, so you don't understand. So this is just like how your parents and grandparents looked at hip hop and stuff when you was young, right? I get that argument, but it's just totally asinine because it doesn't apply. Because what you have to show me is a time in history, any culture, anywhere in history where they had a genre of music that celebrated them committing mass genocide against each other. Give me the culture that had a hit, popular music genre that highlighted self-inflicted murder on them on their own society.
Well, Brandon, you gotta understand this is American culture, right? I mean,
I'll ask you a question.
Okay, in the late 1800s, and I hate to use this kind of analogy, but in the late 1800s, I want you to Google it. You had what they called was coon songs, right? They called them coon songs for a reason, right? You had the coon was going around. He was the choice, you know, they didn't have guns, then they had the knife, right? They had a guy who was going around town killing people with knife. So violence has always been an American culture.
Hey, Jamal,
I want you to Google. Hold on. I want y'all to Google.
No, but Jamal, let me guess. Were these white guys in blackface doing this shit?
Of course.
Man, it was a whole genre. That's what I'm saying. It was a whole genre.
But listen,
oh my God! Did you just hold on? Did you just
I said it was a whole genre.
Jamal? Did you just use an example of white men in blackface running around?
No, because you also have black artists participating in it too. You know, it was called music.
Dynast. What I'm saying is, show me a time or any civilization that had a large scale, a largely distributed or even celebrated, because hip hop is celebrated. Clearly, we're doing 50 years anniversary celebrations. A celebrated genre of music that perpetuated self-destructive narratives.
I got one, Brandon. I got one.
Go ahead.
Coon music.
Right. That was white folks. Listen. That was white folks.
Hold on,
wait, Jamal. That was white folks. That was white folks making negative music about black people. Now show me where white folks made music talking about how they were going to run up on the ops. And meanwhile, these ops are people in their same community. I'm not talking about white Americans saying they're going to go kill Germans. I'm talking about white people who said, I'm going to run down on my neighbor and blow his brains out. Show me the music.
Country music, man. Yo, they want some shit out there too. Come on now.
All right, man. Listen, bro, I said celebrated music that was widely distributed, where they talked about.
But Brandon, I'm 30 seconds. Let me just land real quick. You're narrowing hip hop down to only violence. I think that's where you're doing the injustice.
Hip hop is
violence, man. Come on.
Jamal, hip hop has narrowed itself down to only violence, bro. I didn't do that. I didn't do one single thing that made 2-1 Savage can't rap anyway, if you ask me. But that made 2-1 Savage make a whole album about smoking ops, like running down on other black men and murdering them, bro. I didn't make Young Thug make music about popping pills and doing drugs and all that stuff. That is what hip hop did to itself, because the minute a hip hop legend, quote unquote, co-signed a rapper who got on a tape and bragged about using drugs recreationally other than weed, guess what? Hip hop sealed its own fate, and it took on a life of its own, and now it's at the point where it's straight up garbage. And you could say whatever you want, squint at it, whatever. That shit is trash.
Brandon, do you think Nipsey Hussle was garbage? Do you think Nipsey was garbage?
I think his actions were. I think his actions.
His music,
wait a minute. Wait a minute. Let me answer the question. I believe that Nipsey Hussle's initial music was straight trash, and I think later on in his career, Nipsey Hussle had an epiphany and figured out a way to get money more positively, and he steered his music more towards a positive message. And guess what? He's dead now. And even at his height, even at his height, most black people didn't have no clue who Nipsey Hussle was.
But that's a lot. I mean, you can say that's about a lot of artists. But the point is, Brandon, I'm trying to say is that hip hop evolves, man. And I think we're doing a disservice. Because listen, let's be honest, we all have children here, right? And ask them who their favorite artist is. They might say Lil Durk. Some people may say, Juice WRLD and stuff like that. The thing is, we have to give these young people grace, man. We're not going to listen to the same music they listen to. That's fine.
Isn't Juice WRLD dead? Isn't Juice WRLD dead?
But Juice WRLD is probably bigger now than ever. He's globally.
But he's a drug addict who overdosed on drugs and died.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Sex, drugs, and rock and roll. I get it, right? But the point is, Brandon, the point I'm trying to say is you got to give the young folks their moment, man. We're sounding like the old guys on the lawn. Get off my lawn. You can't
bro.
Have to give themselves their moment. You can't run on my lawn.
So if my kid is like, Dad, man, I just want to listen to Juice WRLD and engage in recreational drug use and overdose, what I got to do is say, okay, baby, you need your moment to go do that. You sound like a buffoon right now.
This is
do your child listen
let
to
your
Jimi
kids
Hendrix?
destroy. Only in our community will you say, let your kid. Jimi Hendrix did drugs, right?
Yeah. You let your child listen to Jimi Hendrix.
Do you know most people who had common sense did not let their kids listen to that stuff? Black and white.
Corny. That was corny on their part. That was child abuse.
That's not child abuse, fool. That's keeping your kid from being influenced by the negative elements of society.
They're gonna listen to it anyway, Brandon.
Dynast, do you hear this black man up here talking about we need to let our kids be exposed
to Jimi Hendrix.
to people?
Listen to Jimi Hendrix. I'm talking about Jimi Hendrix.
We let our kids. Listen, Dynast. We're listening to a black male say, you know what you should have done? You should have let these drug addicts and degenerates have unlimited access to the minds of your children. And if you don't allow that, now that is child abuse. And then the same person to say, Black Lives Matter. These people, we literally have, like I always say, Dynast, we have grown men who should know better, perpetuating bullshit, immature narratives that destroy our community.
Brandon,
that's why our community died because of people like you, Jamal.
I'm just saying, Brandon, you gotta be more balanced, man. We were all young at one time, man. But it's like now we get this kind of holier than thou kind of mindset. We gotta stop that, man. It's killing the youth, man. And that's where the disconnect is at. That's why a lot of these young guys don't respect the old heads.
The youth are killing themselves. You named several rappers who you said we should listen to who are dead. I mean, let that sink in. You are an old who is justifying people who are actually pushing death on youth. The reason why Afrobeats is going to be successful is because they've policed that they have.
Man, the youth not listening to Afrobeats, man. Come on, man, stop.
Can I well, hold on. Let me interject, Jamal. So the youth in America might not be listening to Afrobeats.
But this is an American conversation.
I noticed a huge shift in Africa and in Europe. That's what they're listening to. They're listening to Afrobeat.
I'm saying, I thought we was talking in the context of America.
We should be pushing our kids towards Afro beats, bro. At the end of the day, more black people is listening to Shawn Mendes than listening to any of that bullshit you talking about.
That's not true, NBA. Brandon,
talking about NBA. Wait a minute. Listen, bro. Listen. When a song hits 1 billion views on YouTube, that's not just white people, because there ain't even that many of them on the planet. That means all races are consuming that song. And if you listen to it, if you truly look at the numbers, black kids are consuming that music as well. Shawn Mendes got way more views on YouTube than NBA YoungBoy. You're in a box in your mind where you don't understand the you don't understand the reality and the context.
Black music. There's nothing wrong with that, Brandon. There's nothing wrong with that.
Bro, there's no such thing as black music. Eminem is the #1 biggest selling rapper of all time, bro. Listen, bro. Who's the #1 highest selling rapper of all time?
It's Eminem. Listen, but that
means this is white music.
Don't move the culture.
Listen, bro.
Don't move the culture.
Yeah, listen. Hold on. I keep asking, what is the culture? What is it?
You don't even know.
The culture is a lot, man. It's regional. If you're in Memphis right now, people are saying Memphis is the epic center of hip hop right now, right?
And it's the epicenter of degeneracy.
Right? You got Atlanta.
Didn't no boy get shot getting some cookies in Memphis,
Jamal,
hip-hop artists?
you're just a degenerate, bro. Just accept it.
That's not true, Brandon. Stop it. You're out of.
Yes, you are.
Just say, look. My name is Brandon. I'm out of touch with what's going on right
My name is Brandon, and I'm talking to a guy named Jamal who has a degenerate mindset.
Just say I'm out of touch.
I'm not out of touch. What are you talking about?
Go down Crenshaw and ask them what them young people is listening to down there, or in Inglewood.
I be on Crenshaw all the time, and you know what?
Beverly Hills. Come on, man.
Listen,
Stop it.
I be on Crenshaw all the time.
They're not listening to no Afro beats. Come on, man.
And you know what they listening to? They listening to Frida Homie and let's have a car wash to Barry Pookie because they're murdering each other up. So at that point, it don't matter what you listening to because you just murdering each other and thinking that's the way to do it. And if you look at these people and the way they're behaving, our children are children. That's why children have parents to guide them. You might not be able to tell them what's the latest hit song or what's the most popular pair of shoes, but you give them life skills. What you talking about is giving our children deaf skills. Hey, yeah, let your daughter go listen to the song about letting dudes run trains on her. Because you know what? If you don't do that, you're just out of touch. You're just a crazy ass old man. No, she might think that's okay in the moment, but later on she gonna say, damn, I regret that. And this is why you have black kids. First thing they do when they get a taste of something realistic, they say, man, I hate my parents because my parents, they didn't parent me. They didn't warn me. They didn't protect me from all this different stuff. And our kids largely go into adulthood feeling what? Unprotected, because black people more worried about being their kids' peers and friends than parenting them.
Yeah, I'm just saying, Brand. My son, he's in the 9th grade, right? He's a good kid, gamer. You know, he's a great kid, right? And I asked him sometimes, I said, you know, what are y'all listening to? You know, just listen to some of these young folks, man. You know, and it ain't all bad music. You have to listen to some of these records and be like, you know what? I get it. Somebody told a young kid told me, listen to Kodak Black. I gave it a chance, right? And I said, you know what? I get it now.
So what would you do if you found out your son was popping pills?
Hold on, Brandon. You know what Kodak music reminds me of? It reminds me of the blues.
What would you do if you found out your son was popping pills?
Listen, he's not going to be popping pills
because you're not going to let him.
The music.
But what you're
come on, Brandon.
Listen, no, you come on. What the part you're ignoring is this. You're talking about a kid who has a father in his life who's giving him an example to live up to. We're talking about the single mother raised kids who mom at work and they left to the streets and they're just out here listening to music, letting that influence them. Yeah, I doubt my daughter's gonna let 1 million people in my house and do a gangbang, right? But she also has a father and a mother to come talk to in times of where she doesn't know what to do. You are talking about my son is this. Your son is not the rule. Your son is
Brandon,
the exception.
Brandon,
He's not the rule.
What do Rick Ross rap about, Brandon? What do Rick Ross rap
He lies about being a drug dealer when he worked as a correctional officer. Yes, it is.
He raps
Dynast,
about
what do Rick Ross rap about?
In life.
What do Rick Ross?
Hold on. If anybody's in tune, with Rick Ross, they know he raps about luxurious rap.
You can't even be realistic, bro. Rick Ross got famous rapping about drugs he never sold, bro.
For the last 10 years, he's been rapping about the rich and famous stuff.
How did he come up?
Hold on, Brandon. Can that encourage a young black person to say, look, man, I want to have this or have that, you know, and aspire to be greater things?
What it's gonna do is say, how did he get that? That's what I need to do to get the things he got. What is he lying about? Because Dynast, no rapper raps about, yo, I started a record company. I had to go beg artists to perform for me. I had to go to different venues like Master P, right? He was selling stuff out of his trunk. Master P really rarely rapped about, yo, I was like sitting in like grocery store parking lots selling music CDs for $10. Sometimes they touch on that, but they don't really rap about the real work that's involved with getting to where they are because it's not popular. I just found out, damn, what's that boy's name that pretend to be the dope boy over in what's that guy's name who's from Atlanta, Dynast? The guy who married the Asian woman?
Oh, Jeezy.
I didn't even know young Jeezy lived in Japan. for a long time when he was little and got sent back to
I didn't know that either.
Right, because while he was like there was a meme. He told your kids to trap and sell dope while his son was in college getting a damn education. They sell you a lie because nobody who's a damn drug addict degenerate is going to be able to truly make any real progress in the music industry. These men are geniuses who have learned how to manipulate idiots into thinking they're going to be able to sip a gallon of lean a day and still make millions of dollars, bro. It's not possible. And but they can't rap about that.
Can I add something to that?
Sure.
And the rappers who actually do live that lifestyle and actually do that kind of stuff, you see the results. They're all dead. You know, the ones who actually live
right there. You're doing right there. I will say this though. And it was an era, right? Like say like the late '90s, right? Early 2000s, where they were saying, "Yo, man, these rappers ain't living it." You know, yeah, so and so, he's not living it. But now, a lot of these young people is definitely living this life they're talking about. You know, and it's a subgenre called drill, and they living out their rhymes, unlike the older generation that came before them, right? So, and I'm against that. And most hip hop heads are against drill, right? Because that's something that is destructive. So we're all pushing back that. You even have the NBA young boy, right? And I give him much respect, man, because he had a whole stop the violence movement. Every time you see NBA young boy on TikTok, he say stop the violence. He said he don't even want to do that shit no more, right? So I give a lot of them young artists credit that are pushing back on the drill, like Little Durk. He's not going to talk about dead ops no more, right? So you do have a counterculture to that drill music that everybody is obsessed with, you know.
Well, they don't need to.
Go ahead.
They don't need to do it no more because they done got rich off it. It's easy to say stop doing this now because I done became a billionaire. But what example did you set? NBA young boy went and ran down on ops all these years. That's what made him rich. Now he rich. You know what the young dude gonna say? Because you know so much about young people, but you don't know nothing. A young person gonna say, why would I stop doing that? You got rich off it. Now you want me to stop? And you don't understand. My ops did this. My ops did that. This is the same thing the white man do when it comes to oil drilling. Yeah, he made billions off oil drilling. Now all of a sudden you need to stop. Oh man, we got to stop polluting the planet. It's just a dumb game. And what you're doing right now is saying, look, this stuff ain't good enough for my son. I'm going to make sure he don't do it. But guess what? You little kids out there who ain't got no daddy in their life, it's great for y'all. Keep listening to it. Keep feeding your mind. Go listen to it while you in your room by yourself and you angry because you ain't got no food in the refrigerator, or you angry because of your situation in life. Yeah, consume that, ingest that, take that, and then you're gonna say, oh, if something happened to some kid out here or a kid in your family, oh, this is senseless violence. Man, you just immature. You just got a kid mindset.
Yeah, a wise man told me, they said, look, if you want to get rid of trap music, right, first get rid of the trap. Why we immediately go to the music when the clearly the problem is the trap? You know, when we're going to address that as men, right? There's another. Where we go? Oh, the music, right? Because there's
another person like you. There's
a reason why
another
music.
Yes, I know why you got it, because there's another person like you who is defending that degenerate behavior. And I've said this a million times, Dynast. Our community is dead because we have people who should know better, Dynast. We have people who should know better who sit up and defend every form of degenerate behavior that black people participate in. Drug dealers on the corner, killing people, selling drugs in his own community. You know what they're going to say? Oh, you don't understand, man. That dude came from nothing, man. That dude had to survive, so he had to sell drugs. Well, no, Chick-fil-A is hiring. Jack in the Box is hiring. Tesla is hiring people to clean the bathrooms. SpaceX is hiring. But you're saying he had to do that. Well, if he had to do that to survive, how did he manage to buy 20-inch rims if it was all for survival? How come none of these people have very few have parlayed this stuff into going legit and being investing and having a portfolio? Because these Negroes didn't have to do this mess to survive. These dudes did this because this was the life that they saw on TV and became attracted to and wanted to live themselves. That's why you hear their mama saying, you need to stop that mess. You need to stop doing that, because they mama know they don't. How, you know what's funny, Dynast? The guy who sells drugs will be like, man, I watch my mom work 3 and 4 jobs. And guess what? She managed to take care of you working 3 and 4 jobs, but you going to say, but I had to sell dope to survive. That's bull crap. And we need to let those lying ass excuses die and own up to the reality.
Hey, Brandon, I got one question for you. Who is the most popular rapper in the world?
Drake.
Okay. Who is the second most popular rapper in the world?
Second most probably NBA YoungBoy.
No, it's not NBA YoungBoy. It's second most popular. Kanye West. Kanye West. Some people may say he's the most popular, right? Okay, you got Drake and Kanye West, right? Both of those two who are humongous hip hop artists, right? They're not talking about none of the shit you're just describing. These are the two most popular people in Black America in the world, right?
And do you realize?
Hold on.
And
Brandon, let me land 10 seconds.
You want to throw some more emphasis on it?
They don't talk about shooting people. They don't talk about all this different stuff you're talking about, Brandon. So why don't you give those people their flowers?
And that's what I'm trying.
Hip hop. Hold on, Brandon. And it's a lot of hip hop that ain't talking about degeneracy.
Now come tell me. Okay? Now look. Now bring your son on and say, hey, is Drake or Kanye West your favorite rapper? What you're saying proves my point. That's why the drill shit is totally asinine, because it perpetuates death and destruction in our community, and it's not even the most popular. So why sit up and why?
Nobody. I ain't up here and defend.
Wait a minute. If it was about making, listen. If it
hip hop, not drill.
Listen. If it was about making money and it was about getting your family, to a better life, we would be telling our kids to go imitate Drake and make the music he made. We would be telling our kids to go imitate Kanye and make the music his made. We would be telling our kids to even make the music Wiz Khalifa make. Because if you really want to be honest, Wiz Khalifa, even though I don't think he's such a great rapper, that guy's a hell of a businessman and is making a lot of money signing rappers who've been around 20 years to his record label and helping them be profitable. So that's what I'm telling you. That's how you know drill is just self-destructive music for really no reason, because it's not even at the top when it comes to sales or popularity. So what is the need for it? Why is it just good enough for the Black community and no other community wants any part of that?
That's not true. It's in London. It's big in London. Even Ghana has drill. Even in the Congo, they have their version of drill. Latin America.
It's trash. It's trash.
I was in Colombia. Colombia got their own version of drill. So it just say it's just in Black America. That's false. Go ahead.
It's only in degenerate Black communities. Do you realize everywhere you named has Black communities, and they're the #1 consumers of that, and those communities are crime ridden, bro. So when you talk about, it's like this. Smoking crack is very popular in depressed communities all over the world. So does that mean now the world is just loving crack smoke? No, it's not. It's just something that is a product, right, of destruction and of communities that allow themselves to be destroyed. So that's not helping your argument at all. Oh, Colombia, the damn narcos are listening to drill. Ooh, I should let my kid listen to that. That's even more reason why you shouldn't let your kids consume that garbage.
All right, Jamal fell off. Guys, links in the chat room if you want to add to the conversation. Please click on the link. Again, link is in the chat room if you want to add to the conversation. Please click on the link. All right, go ahead.
You know what I noticed about Afrobeat is that oftentimes, these Afrobeat artists are still connected to older people who could help guide them. Burna Boy is actually being managed by his mother, and his mother's helping him along and helping him select songs. And then though he tries sometimes to go towards more ignorant music, she always brings him back to something that's more traditional, something that's actually good, edifying, and actually is fun. I think that's a big problem. I think we have a whole bunch of young people who are producing music and have zero guidance except for executives who want to sell something. And I think that's a big major difference and a major problem, and why a genre like Afrobeats is successful, and genres like hip hop and to a lesser extent dancehall are beginning to die off because they've embraced degeneracy.
To an extent, I think Waka Flocka was managed by his mom, and that ain't make a difference at all. But
You're right about that.
I see a point. Like, I think the main thing is when you take like into consideration how young these acts are in hip hop, where you have a 16 or 17-year-old getting on a mic. Like, what are they gonna really talk about coming out of where they from? Unless you like Nas, where you just read a whole bunch of books and then you're going to stand in front of a microphone. You really can't count on the average teenager to say something profound. And that's another reason why I feel like as time progresses, I don't think like these artists are the way Brendan is kind of portraying them, where it's like once they get to a certain level, they switch up. I think that's just a part of maturity and life in general, where once they hit a certain age, their content start to change because they start to change. I think they also start to change up their content because their environment start to change. So that hip hop is the only place where you can get a Blood and a Crip on stage together and to perform. They would never do that in a neighborhood or whatever, because one, they don't have the economics. It just doesn't make sense.
That's not true. That's not true. Bloods
In what sense?
I'm from California. Bloods and Crips get money together all the time. I know Bloods who will kill you over a Crip because they getting money with them, even in jail, everywhere else. Anytime somebody has an incentive, they will go what's best for their personal well-being. Man, listen, I used to be in a gang. Trust me. There are Bloods and Crips who get together all the time. I used to hang out when I was a Crip. I used to hang out with a dude from Looters Park, Paru. His name was Big C. And that dude, I used to go to that dude's house every day. He a Blood, and his name's Big C, Big Carl. I used to go to that dude's house every day in Compton. Yeah, it was a bunch of Bloods hanging out over there with them and everything like that. Never bothered me. Never gave me disrespect. But why? He was making a lot of money off of me, and I was making a lot of money off him. That's just the way it is, bro. Even Nipsey Hussle, Hoover Crips, they're the mortal enemies of neighborhood Crips. But guess what? Nipsey used to get more love from Hoover Crips than he got from neighborhood, his own hood. Why? Because if you getting money or you're bringing something that people view as valuable, they'll push all that stuff to the side. That's just how gangbanging is. So
okay, well, yeah, I can see the point in regards to gangbanging. The larger point I was making was the economic situation is what changes people over time. When you like you said, incentivize people in that manner, they can put down all the dumb stuff that they might do in the neighborhood. But then again, they keep certain environments with them along their journey, and then they end up dead ultimately. But yeah, I think a lot of it just has to do with how young they are when they're standing in front of a microphone.
You guys mentioned earlier Drake and Kanye. What about Cardi B and Nicki Minaj? I thought they were quite big. They were quite popular on the same level as Drake, definitely.
Not even close.
Really? Not even close?
Okay. Nah.
No.
Let's pass it to Heavy Rain Entertainment. Go ahead.
Hey, what's going on, man? I don't know if y'all can hear me.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just wanted to say, first, I appreciate y'all inviting me on the show. I'm a big fan. I'm basically a producer of Afrobeat music, manage a few artists, and definitely, and someone who's also loved hip hop as well. I'm Nigerian from origin, but I was, been in America for many years, so definitely a big fan of hip hop. I've definitely seen it decline over the past few years, so definitely understand the frustration. But I do want to say that, as an Afrobeat person, we come in peace. So I don't know, people want to start beef because they think it's the thing to do, but I think there's room for everybody. I mean, this is a global market. Not for Afrobeat specifically, I can say that because I'm in industry, and it's really literally like the entire world. It's not like a certain demographic. Literally every demographic, every race, every country. Man, my Spotify streams, you see the numbers, it's crazy. Every corner of the globe is like listening. So I think it's more of an opportunity, and I think that if people who are interested in kind of participating, I mean, because it's really all genres. I mean, all people, hip hop folks, dance, EDM, electronic, reggae. There's all different genres within the Afrobeat that I think all have potential for expansion. And I think that, and it's funny, you would think it's only Black folks who are typically doing it, but now there's huge Arab communities coming out, Indians, Latinos coming out Afrobeat. So it's going to be a global art form. Like almost like I said, like hip hop, how there's different people doing their versions of it, globally as well. So I think Black folks should look at this as an opportunity as opposed to saying some sort of, something that's different. So they maybe have fear of what, it is, and maybe are concerned that it may change what they're used to. But someone who's kind of been in the industry, and I feel like I almost predicted this would happen, just because I was very familiar with Nigerian music as well as African music and culture and the similarities and whatnot. I think it's something that people who are interested, even if you're non-African, if you're Caucasian, I think there's room for everybody. And I think let's try to become the pioneers and trying to steer the direction so that when people do join in, they can kind of have a mold they can kind of hopefully mimic and keep the authenticity where it needs to be, as opposed to, what happened to hip hop, where it was a very pure, I think, honest art form initially. Now it has been, manipulated to something destructive. And that's something that I think we need to do, work as hard as possible to prevent from happening to Afrobeat, because that's something that is always a risk as well. So that being said, appreciate everybody, listening. And
yeah. And also, we shouldn't make this a hip hop versus Afrobeat thing, right? But ultimately, like I said, it's not going to be us on this stage, on Dynast stage right here. That's going to be the tastemakers, right?
Exactly.
It's going to be the youth, right? And whatever the youth is going through, right? Like, because Lil Uzi Vert is one of the top artists in hip hop, right? He's not talking about half the stuff he's talking about, as far as him killing people and none of that stuff, right? And he's very popular, right, amongst all races, right? But what did Little Uzi Vert go through in his lifetime? He's losing friends at a young age, right? So it's going to reflect in that music, right? And this is the edge that hip hop has, because it can talk about different things, right, on many different levels. And let's be honest, you can say more in a hip hop song than a typical Afrobeat song, right? Afrobeat song has a couple bars and you to the hook, whatever, right? So that is the advantage that hip hop has over certain genres. You can say about anything and you can rap longer, you can talk longer, right? But the point I'm trying to say is, if anybody,
can I say one thing? Just correct one thing you said.
If any genre should be threatened, it's probably dance hall music, right? Because I remember there was a time you go to a black cookout, right? You maybe hear one or two dance hall records, and the rest would be R&B and hip hop.
I'm about to say R&B is the one that's getting washed up by Afrobeat.
Hold on, but I will say this, right? Dance hall music may be finished, in that kind of context, right? Because when I go
R&B too,
when I go to the typical Black American cookout, I'm still hear 90s R&B. I'm gonna hear hip hop. I'm gonna hear her, Beyonce, all that stuff, right? And then I'm gonna hear one or two Afrobeat songs, right? Now, 10, 20 years ago, those one or two different songs, instead of Afrobeats, it would be dance hall music. I don't even hear dance hall no more, right? So I think we shouldn't make this an Afrobeats versus hip hop, because hip hop is still the dominant culture here in America, and I don't see that. Because another advantage that hip hop has is a look, it's fashion, right? It's our vernacular, African American vernacular, right? The way we talk to one another, that's part of hip hop culture. And until Afro beats come with the culture, I don't see it replacing hip hop, particularly in America. But go ahead.
Well, but you're speaking only about America. I can tell you all about.
I'm in America. I'm American. What else am I supposed to talk about? I'm America.
All right, so let me give you my.
You brought up Drake, and you used it in a global perspective.
I'm in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. What else am I supposed to talk about? Come on now, stop it.
Okay, well, now that you're done with that, let me give you my perspective. What I'm saying about dancehall is dancehall has gone down the same road that hip hop has. We now have trap dancehall. Okay, and we've taken drum patterns that have been are now being used in Afro beats to a certain extent, not completely, but to a certain extent.
But y'all invented the sound, though. I will say that, Alan. Y'all had the sound first.
And then we went away from it to do trap, and now we have groups like Six and all these other people out here doing stuff that is more reminiscent.
Skilly Bang,
and all these other people out here doing stuff that is more reminiscent of the stuff that is destroying hip hop. So it's the exact same thing that's destroying hip hop is destroying dancehall. People would rather listen to 90s dancehall still to this day, internationally and in the United States, than anything that's new. And that's what's happening around the world with hip hop. So you guys can be in denial, because I've been on Jamaican blog spots where they're in the same complete denial that there's a problem in dancehall. But it's the same problem that's in dance halls, the same problem that's in hip hop. You've allowed the culture, the dance hall culture, to go from fun for something that is good and have a specific beat pattern to something that is degenerate.
One thing I can speak on that though. Let me say one thing. As far as the degeneracy of the music, I will say, like, especially Nigeria, what we call the Nigerian Federal Communications Committee, they made some monitor what gets put on TV. They are extremely strict. I can tell you, like, I'll just get a quick plug. My artist, Foreign Slim, she's a big artist. She's doing her thing, and we just got her stuff on TV out there. And they have all these restrictions, what you can say. You have to bleep this out, bleep that out. Even to suggest anything potentially sexual is a problem. So they're just a lot more strict. So that also limits the potential for even degeneracy, because they just won't allow it on TV or radio, period. So that just really prevents that whole, let's talk about just, PUSSY all day, and then blatantly they won't allow it. Now, like, for instance, the song we put out recently, I'll tell you, it's called Foreign Slim Can't Do Like That. Google or YouTube it if you want to check it out. But, in my opinion, it was very mild, especially according to U.S. standards. But in Nigerian radio, it was a big deal. We had to edit this and do all these modifications to get it to be approved for playing. So, that's one thing as well that's a little different. So, and the Africans tend to be more conservative as well. So, there's someone, how I'm sure you heard the phrase of someone being banned from the village for doing something, ridiculous, and people get caught with. Now, it's not extreme. You can still come, obviously, but there is some sort of shame kind of tactics if you're openly doing something that's considered deplorable as far as from a moral standpoint. And now some people don't give a damn anyway, but there is that still kind of shame thing that prevents people from getting too crazy, because they know somebody gonna recognize them and tell their mom or tell their people or whatever. So that's one thing too. Now again, that's probably gonna fade as well as the world gets more global, but that's something I think that's also limited to some of the degeneracy that we potentially see in other genres. But again, I'm just saying that somebody who just observe at this point, things can change, and people don't know really how that'll affect them, how affect the music long term. But I think they can slow that down, and I think that's really what kills all these genres when they get too, like, I think rock and roll in the 80s was all severe drug use, people were dying left and right. That then turns people off, and then people start looking at other things to excite them. So I think just hopefully the degeneracy can be kept in check, and they can potentially keep increasing longevity of the music, because unfortunately that's what's killed a lot of genres personally. But
yeah, but I guess I'm gonna push back on the degeneracy thing. I know that's an easy thing to target, right? But I will say, I say what hurt dancehall. It's not necessarily the content. What hurt dancehall was the sonics, how it sounds sonically, right? Because remember, dancehall and reggaeton pretty much had the Afrobeat sound before Afrobeats as we know it today, with the drums, the boom, right? Dancehall had the sonics, right? It was sonically where Afrobeats took over dancehall. It's not necessarily the content. It is where now dancehall is chasing a sound, right? So you hear a lot of Vibes Cartel, right? It sounds like damn trap music, some of the stuff mixed with a little dancehall, right? But I think it's more of a sonic thing. It's not the content that's necessary. The downfall of dancehall, because Afrobeats kind of took the sonics of reggaeton and dancehall and kind of made it their own. But go ahead.
It's not necessarily reggaeton. Yeah, there's actually
guys, let's pass it to Father Hayes. Go ahead, Father.
Hey, peace and prosperity be to everyone. I think I'm coming with the unpopular opinion that hip hop has never and was never meant to be anything positive ever for the Black community. In 1974, Henry Kissinger suggested homosexuality to Nixon to be used as a form of population control. And hip hop, believe it or not, they started this program in the 60s with the Out of Paris movement, where they took what is called Banji Boys out of New York, where they actually had Banji Boy balls. And these balls were pretty much these homosexual Afro-American men who would come together and who would give you exactly what hip-hop culture is. If you go on YouTube, look up it's something Paris, Out of Paris, I can't remember, but you got to check this documentary out. It's heavy. And what I want you to understand is it's not that we didn't have some positive artists, but hip hop has never been meant to be something positive in our communities. It was used as social engineering tool to completely turn us against one another, turn us against our women, make us start liking white women, make us get comfortable with white boys in our environments, make us intermingle. Hip hop has been used to sway us in many different directions since its conception. So when I hear people say hip hop is falling, no, I'm right now, and it's so interesting that the brother said we got to listen to somebody else. I was listening. I'm here in Texas, Fort Worth, Texas, and I was listening to Mo 3. Now hear me out on this. Now I used to listen to Bob Marley and all other kind of positive artists, but I was getting into Mo 3 because I was going through my.
Didn't Mo 3 get killed? Am I right or wrong?
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's what I'm finna say. I was going through my little motion where when I got here in Texas, there was a different environment where you had to be a little bit where the area that I was at, you had to be a little bit more up on your game. So I literally took up on some of the music to let's say to strengthen my character amongst the people that I was dealing with. To make a long story short, after he got killed.
So what was you in the trap? Like, what was you doing?
No. I was hanging around, just like Jesus, man. I hung around many brothers and sisters that was
just like Jesus.
In many nefarious places. You dig what I'm saying? But here's the thing. I started listening to a brother named Manifest. That's out of, I think he's out of Ghana or Nigeria, and also Black Sheriff. And when I heard these rappers in Africa, bro, I realized that right now the agenda that's in America is not the same as the agenda in Africa. American hip hop has been and always will be used to divide us and destroy us, and we fell for it over and over again. Just because they give us a little Public Enemy. Public Enemy was used. Walk This Way, Run DMC. Public Enemy did more, got us to intermingle with more white people than anybody. Public Enemy made us intermingle with more white people. I'm saying they played this game on us, and we fell for the game. Hip hop is never meant to be your friend, and I just wanted to say that.
All right, go ahead, Hip Hop Talk.
Hey, Dynast, long time no see. Hope everybody good. I think for me, with Jermaine Dupri expressing that, for me, it's kind of contradictory of Jermaine Dupri, and I'm not trying to muddy up the situation, but he had his show. Y'all remember he had his show. I personally interviewed Miss Mulatto, and this is not a plug because that was 6 years ago, and it's been on Hip Hop Talk for a minute, and she's blown up. But that was one of his artists that he supported back and put out there. So, he can question is hip hop dead, but are you contributing to that fact, or are you creating or bringing out artists and putting artists out that are bringing out a meaningful message? And what the gentleman said just a moment ago, hip hop, was created, of course, and I ain't got to tell nobody no history about hip hop. We just spoke what we saw. They came up from the Caribbean. Everybody came up from a lot of places, from the islands in New York, where it was basically, born, if you will, hip hop. And, everybody spoke what they saw on the streets, from the dope dealers to the drug pushers to the prostitutes and real life struggles in America and what Black people go through. So in essence, that's the message, keep our head up, and us being in a system, that, you got to work harder. You got to, go the distance, and you got a lot of things against you. Like Tupac said, we just, I want to be able to, do my art. But at the same time, my art is plagued by my lifestyle. And my lifestyle, my culture is the Black lifestyle culture of America. So, and it encompasses a lot. But my question specifically back to Jermaine Dupri, you speak that, yes, hip hop is dead, but look at the artists that you put out. It was what, Little Poopy, it was Miss Mulatto, the other little young lady, all of them are young adults now, but what's their message? What is their meaning? What are they contributing, to the hip hop culture to keep it from not being a lost art? There's people learning, people growing, like Pac said, it was lessons and messages and lessons taught through hip hop. And I bring up Tupac because, of course, his advocacy, and his love for Black America and his people, our people. So, at the end of the day, for me, it's like if I was sitting there interviewing Jermaine Dupri, I'm like, you had Miss Mulatto, what's her message? Y'all know her, and she even asked me, she was like, you can get at me anytime. You can, come down to the ATL and hook up with me. I've never reached back to anybody that I feel, if it was Tupac, I would have been like, absolutely, I'm coming through. But, I'm at a different age. I'm much older than they are, and I have a different ear and a different passion for the art of hip hop.
And I think also like Jermaine Dupri need to give some of them young producers their credit, like Metro Boomin, Zaytoven, the guys that's pushing this Atlanta sound around the world. Right, you go around the world, you can hear a Zaytoven, a Metro Boomin record, but some of these older guys don't want to give up the helm. Jermaine Dupri is not a part of current Atlanta hip hop scene. And I think that's a travesty because we need older G's involved with the youth, man. It's sad.
All right, can I get in here?
Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, okay. I want to say this. First of all, if those Jamal, that was a good debate between you and Brandon. You gave Brandon a headache like you give me all the time. We argue about hip hop. Jamal calls me out of the clear blue sky to get on my nerve.
We love it, man. We know we love that hip hop. We do. Yeah.
Well, we do, but I don't like that degenerate stuff. I hate it. How much I hate that stuff. It goes against everything I believe in. Anyway, before I get started, I want to say www.DeVille Radio, formerly Gangsterville Radio. If you want to hear real black culture, hip hop, and everything, tune in. It's the largest online black radio station platform. I have a show Wednesday nights for 3 years running now. And the best show on Gangsterville Radio or DeVille Radio, as you call it, is the Show Butter Experience. If you want to hear my boy Chris and his boy Show Butter, Show Enough, and DJ Show Enough and C Butter, the Show Butter Experience. If you want to hear real hip hop from back in the days, how they cut everything in, you want to hear what real DJing is all about, tune in on Saturdays at 4 p.m. on DeVille Radio, www.devilleradio.com, or you can download the Gangsterville Radio app, or you can put it on your TuneIn. Look up Gangsterville Radio on your TuneIn and listen. Saturdays 4 p.m. East. Okay, hold on. Okay, Saturdays 4 p.m. Eastern. Let me take my let me take my headphones off. Hold on. All right. Hold up.
Well, while he gets himself together, I will say this, unless someone else wants to chime.
No, I'm there.
Go ahead,
I'm there.
Hip hop talk. Go ahead.
Okay, I appreciate that, Dynast. I'll just quickly say, I'll give a strong example. I personally used to communicate with everybody in the club getting tipsy. What's his name? I forgot his name. Jaquan Jones. Forgive me, Jaquan. Anyway, I used to personally communicate with him, and I asked him to come on to the show, be on Hip Hop Talk. Let's vibe it up. Let's talk. He didn't want to do that. He said he would prefer to stay pretty much out the scene. Now, he produced, Jermaine Dupri produced everybody in the club getting tipsy. Again, my question would be, Jermaine, you produced that. That's your body of work. That's your art. That's your message for the young people, everybody in the club getting tipsy. Personally, it was bumping. I ain't gonna lie, I was loving it and I was bumping to it. But what's the message? Besides everybody get drunk, everybody turn up, wild out, whatever you want to call it. But my point is, one thing that I have to give credit to Jaquan Jones is that he was always a gentleman. He never bad mouthed me. He always said, yes, ma'am. You know, he always was very gentleman-like, and he never, for the several months he and I communicated, you know, behind the scenes, he asked me not to, you know, take pictures or mention anything or show anything about him. And I was like, I respect that. And I never did. And this is actually my first time talking about him, period, on any platform. To me, he shared a lot of ideas about projects coming out that he was going to do in his own studio in St. Louis. But I haven't heard nothing, you know, that he was going to put out, but he was communicating some good projects with some good messages. And it's sad that, you know, we haven't heard that, or he either chose not to share it for whatever reason. But to wrap it up, in my perspective, you know, I think everybody's just out to get a quick buck nowadays. So it's like, you know, about the message, I just want to get paid, move on.
Yeah, and this is what I was about to say. Can everybody hear me? Okay, hip hop. I always said this on my radio show. I said hip hop. I would say 1979, the real birth to the mainstream, and 1990 RIP. Okay, what do people ask me? Colin, what do you mean by that? I mean, in the 80s, hip hop was organic. It was just us. Most hip hop was confined to the New York area, and most rappers were the New York, and the people on the West Coast picked it up. They were just imitating New York rappers and everything like that. It basically had a positive message. And then when it was, we had a rough message, it was on late night. And it was basically music that we listened to. We love MCing, you know, who could rhyme, who had style. The DJ was the most important part of hip hop. The DJ was important. He's the one who got the club started, the party started, and everything like that. A DJ is somebody that was worthy of respect, okay? Now you don't have a DJ anymore, you know? You don't have any instruments. You don't have the cutting, scratching. You don't have the mixing. You have none of that stuff that we used to do back in the Bronx back in the days. We used to go down to the Bronx, to Bronx River and a place like that and chill. And South Side Queens, why Queens picked it up after the Bronx. But the thing is, I'm saying is this. When they discovered that this could be monetized, right? Suddenly in the 90s and everything like that, hip-hop and stuff began to change. Okay, when it was just us listening to it and everything, like it was fine. It was a balance. We had NWA while we had Public Enemy, you know. So you had NWA talking about the street stuff and the gang banging, but you had Public Enemy, so it was a balance. We had we chose, and there was a balance there. But what happened was somebody discovered that you can make a whole lot of money marketing hip hop to white America, and there was the imbalance, right? And then when these East Coast rappers, who were the Garden of Eden of hip hop, saw that there was people like Suge Knight and all these goons and clowns making millions of dollars selling gangster lifestyle to white Billy Thug and the white Billy boy in Kansas, they decided to get on the same thing. Why do you think they got rid of Craig Mack and whatnot and got Biggie? Craig Mack was a real MC.
I miss
but
Craig
they got
Mack.
Biggie, huh?
Yeah, I miss him. I'm sorry. Go right ahead.
Yeah, remember Craig Mack was a real MC. You know, and all these people that were real MCs got pushed to the side. You had to start talking about money, gats, and all stuff like this. It was crash, and I rejected that at the time. You know, I said there's something in my spirit not right about this. And all these years later, I was proven right. There was a conspiracy to take this over. Hot 97 came out of nowhere. What was Hot 97? We used to have black radio in the city. So then you got Hot 97. No social commentary, no politics, no nothing. It's just a thing. They chose what rappers got up there and everything. And so we got rappers up there that didn't have any credibility. Didn't have any credibility in the mixtape circuit. Let me tell you some people like Biggie Smalls and everything. But I argue the fact that we never heard Biggie on the underground mixtape circuit. He just came out of nowhere. You know, I just saw, first of all, I saw Biggie was on MTV. I said, who's this guy? You know, and I'm saying, so that began the corporate America come in, sign on a dotted line, and we'll make you a star. That's not how hip hop was.
If you were from but in New York, you know, in Brooklyn, everybody.
I don't buy that, man. We was at the mixtape circuit, bro. Was there? If you was hot on the mixtape circuit, no one knew who he was.
He was the mayor of St. James. That's what we used to call him. He was the mayor of St. James.
The mayor of St. James. I mean, well, why are we just hearing about this? We never heard this guy. This guy came out of nowhere.
That was documented, man. He was pushed out of nowhere. I agree with you to that extent. but he was on the underground. You know, if you
Well,
listen to
yo, bro,
radio,
see, we gotta have a whole show about this, bro. Dynast, we got one day have a whole show about this. I say right there, I prove that this guy Biggie Smalls came out of nowhere, you know, and he came out of nowhere to basically for a commercialized. That was commercial corporate America. Biggie didn't make his bones on the.
Hey, Kyle, you're crackling again.
Anyway, Dynast, I gotta go, brother. But I think I made with Alan. One day we'll do a show on this. I hope Dynast hosts a show. We'll have a long debate and we'll bring evidence and everything like that. But you know,
I would love to be on that. Yeah.
Yeah, I know, because I know a lot of I love Biggie. A lot of my Jamaican brothers, they love Biggie and whatnot. You know, he was a king of Brooklyn. I give you that. But the dude came out of nowhere, you know, and that got to be said. Why this guy over all the people that basically that were real MCs at the time?
I'll agree with you that he was pushed out of nowhere. You know, I'm not completely discrediting your point. What I'm saying is that he did have he was rapping on the street, and they used to call him the Mayor of St. James. That was the whole thing. But then he was pushed with the article of the title Mayor of St. James in the source, and I remember reading, and I did kind of ask, like, who is this dude? And then I started learning more and more about him. So there was a significant media push for him at the time that was kind of weird.
Well, you got it.
Yeah, it was. It was very weird. But anyway, brothers, sisters, I gotta go.
All right.
Okay. All right.
Take care. God bless. But
Yeah, guys,
quick.
I'll put the link in the chat room if you guys want to call in. We'll take one more caller. We're going to close out in about 15 minutes. But go ahead, Hip Hop Talk.
I'll jump in on this one. That segue with Biggie. We got to give Biggie, of course. Nobody I know here is doubting his artistic ability. You know, he's not going to be pushed if he don't have no talent. So Biggie was one of the biggest ones in the early 90s that got pushed because he does have talent. You know, and he could have ran with the message, but him and Diddy did their thing, and they was going back and forth with Pac and all the other, you know, what's his name that was with the milkshake chick. Anyway,
Nas.
Yeah, he was jumping on Nas. Pac was jumping on Nas. They were all going at it, talking about bad boys, this, that, and the third. But anyway, y'all know the history. I'm not going to dive into that at all. But personally, you know, with me being able to have the opportunity and the blessing to talk with Professor Griff and, you know, seeing what he was going through, like when he started bringing out, you know, what he suspected was going on in the Black communities, all the, you know, oppression, degradation, what have you. You know, he's going, well, you know, I'm starting to be a target with bombing. You know, they're trying to bomb my home. You know, they're tapping my home. Whether, I don't know who it is, because even Pac talked about the DEA, you know, everybody else that's coming after him. So is there a level of risk? You know, and personally, like Professor Griff used to say, you know, it's a risk when you are, you know, trying to keep everyone conscious and up abreast to what is going on in our culture and our lifestyles, in our hoods and on the block, and whatever the case may be. It comes with a risk, an accountability. You know, and you don't know who your enemy is. You know, so, you know, maybe that's another reason why people are like, let me just do my love. Let me do the art of hip hop, even though I'm not putting in no meaningful, uplifting or a message that will, you know, teach and school and enlighten. Let's just put out something that people can just be carefree and enjoy the moment, enjoy life, and get away from all the struggle. So how do you balance that? That's my question. How do you, you know, slide in the message, but at the same time, you don't want to slide into something where you know what has happened to our past artists for some reason, like why did they get shot up, or why they, you know, this, that, and the third, and they no longer on the scene because they're trying to lift their people. The same way with MJ, you know. So like Jermaine Dupri said, you know.
I just want to piggyback off of one thing that you had mentioned earlier, and that was the fact that over 90% of the artists who are out today are from the islands or from somewhere else. And I think that's
not true. That's not true. You got to stop saying that, man. That's not true.
Well, this is from what I've seen, bro.
But that's not true. You got to stop. You can't say that false thing on the stage. Right?
I'm sorry. Please, Brother Jamal, what percentage would you say is not? And listen, I'm Pan-African.
Who are the top 10? Who are the top 10 rappers in America right now? Who are the top 10?
Or top 10s financially, or top 10 actual?
Top 10, Drake, Kanye.
Drake's from Canada.
Yeah, no, what I'm saying, but he's still Black American, because I heard on the stage too. No, yeah, but I hear on the stage too that the Caribbeans created hip hop. We got to stop that too. That's not the narrative,
Okay.
Well, Jamal, there was actually a documentary I was watching on the PBS did a hip hop documentary.
Yeah.
And they said that Kool Herc, and they were very clear that he's Caribbean, created hip hop. And they were very clear.
Not just him. Kool Herc is Jamaican. Africa Bambaataa is Jamaican and Bayesian. And
but they didn't create
Grandmaster Flash is from Barbados. And
but hold on, Bambaataa is from the Bahamas, right?
Let me just finish this. Without him inventing the mixer, we don't have any hip hop.
No. What I'm saying is you had first of all, New York had a DJ culture. You had Disco Mario. You had thousands of DJs. Okay, so to say you didn't, we got to stop that narrative that Caribbeans created hip hop. That's not true. They contribute, yes, but they didn't create hip hop. We got to stop that. Go ahead.
Right. The founders were big in
the founders
as well.
They were.
They was born in the Bronx. They were emulating Black culture in New York at the time.
That's a fact, but all of them weren't like everybody is. They came in. Everybody is from another country. Period. Like even if they weren't first generation or second generation, they families had gravitated to New York. But in essence, that's why I said.
I agree, but you got to understand that Black culture at that time, right? They had to be Americanized. Nobody was playing Caribbean records in these hip hop circles. This was purely an American art form. But my man is trying to push a narrative that all the rappers today is Caribbeans. That's not true. We got to stop that. That's xenophobia, man. Let's stop that.
Brother Jamal, please. Well, for one thing, respectfully, my brother, you put those words in my mouth. You didn't give me an opportunity to finish my statement, brother. What I was about to say is I've found that a lot of those artists from Jamaica and from other places are being used to do the most damage. Like you got this, what's the woman that came out with WAP? Wet ass pussy. They use these foreigners.
She's from Texas, Megan Thee Stallion. Come on, man.
Cardi B,
brother. Cardi B. And Cardi B was the leader of that song. So what my point that I'm trying to make is they have been doing this for quite a long time. And I understand you brother Jamal, you sound like you got a love for hip hop, but sometimes you got to realize hip hop is like a zombie. All zombies have a parasite at the host, the brain of the host. And hip hop has always had somebody at the center of his brain. When I go back and I look at the message, the video of the message, man, I had no idea. My uncle, straight up soldier, used to say, man, them boys gay as hell. And I used to debate with him, no, they ain't gay. He said, go look at them. And sure enough, it took me till I was like 30-something, I'm 54 years old. I was 30-something years old. And I go back and look at them videos from the 70s, and I was blown away. And then I realized it wasn't just in hip hop. Now we got to look at Prince. Oh, no, not Prince. What about Earth, Wind, and Fire? Not Earth, Wind, and Fire. Eddie Murphy. I'm just saying they systematically attacked us, bro. And hip hop was one of the easiest way they can attack the children. Mm-hmm. That's all I'm saying, bro. And they use a lot of foreigners to do it, even though I'm with my brothers and sisters from Africa. I'm just saying the Jamaican, them islands, and all in Dominican Republic, they've been tearing up Canada. They've been tearing us up, bro.
But Father, I gotta give you pushback because what you're trying to push a narrative. We're trying to act like Eazy-E, right? One of the fathers. We can go back to Schoolie D in Philadelphia, who's I hate to use this term, I'm going to use it in this context, who are FBA Black Americans, right? Schoolie D, Easy E, these are the founders of gangster music, right? And you're trying to push a narrative that the Caribbeans came up with this kind of, or being used. We got to stop that too, right? But I will say this. Look, hip hop didn't come in a vacuum. A lot of people contribute, but it was a culture, right? It was a culture. You know, when Kool Herc, he immediately said, he acknowledged he had to Americanize himself when he came to the Bronx, right? And you know what that means, right? So, but the point is, there's nothing wrong with that. Anybody can contribute, and it's a beautiful thing. And hip hop is here to stay. It ain't going nowhere until you can replace the culture, right? Which is a knowledge of self, fashion, you know, dancing. Until you can replace that, the music and the vibration, you know, hip hop is going to always be around because it don't stop. And I'm gonna land.
No. I just want to say, look at that. Look at that. It was very optimistic how you just sensationalize the culture of hip hop, which has always been this metrosexual, slightly homosexual, black on black violence, constantly talking about how a hoe ain't shit, constantly talking about evading your responsibilities as a father. You know, I got the bitch pregnant and so forth. I've been hearing this. I'm 50-something years old. I remember, hey, we want some pussy. I remember that. I'm saying they have been doing this for a very long time now, but I don't want to go back. Respectfully, Brother Jamal, I actually agree with your point of view. I agree with the sister point of view. Brother Allen, Brother Prince, hey, peace and prosperity be to all.
God bless. Appreciate you.
Have a beautiful day.
He spoke facts. Like
Much respect.
The industry has evolved, and we're getting everything. And yes, it'll never end. Hip hop is here and will always be here before us, after us. It's a beautiful thing.
It can evolve, but it's still going to be here.
All right, Dynast.
It's still going to be here, but what's going to happen?
All right, Pete, are you leaving?
I'll stick around. I want to hear what they got to say.
Yeah, hip hop's always going to be here. It's going to be it's a permanent genre of music. However, the peak days, you know, of its popularity are behind it, and I think that's pretty clear. It's going to always exist. And what's going to happen is when it crashes and burns, it's going to come back better because it's going to come back in a more pure form and not, much in the way that jazz and other musics have come back. So, you know, it's actually for the better for hip hop that it falls in a lot of its popularity, because then you're going to have people who are about hip hop actually doing it.
Mm-hmm. I love that. That was beautiful.
All right, sure. We'll go ahead and close out. Hey, everyone, thank you so much for joining. Like, share, subscribe. Thank you for joining. Like, share, subscribe. Until next time, family. Dynast Amir, Search for Uhuru. Peace.
All right, thanks for having me.
God bless everybody.